Hi, everyone. We have a big show for you today. Our special guest is Sharon Kneebone. I'm so excited to bring you her and her topic to today's show. She'll be talking a little bit more about empathy and how to encourage workplace empathy without crossing individual boundaries. But we have a ton of other topics for you as well. We'll start out with 101 ways to create humor at work. Certainly won't touch on all 101, but at least get you thinking about what that might look like and how it could improve your relationship with your coworkers. Angela booked a 30-minute stretch session. I'm so excited to talk to her about that. I know I get the opportunity here. All right, friends, it is Friday, July 23rd. Welcome to Healthy by Association. Once again, my name is Aaron Wallowik, and this is your weekly wellness check. We are delighted to have you, but first and foremost, before we jump into our usual hosts, we want to welcome Sharon Kneebone to today's episode. Sharon, tell us a little bit about you, sort of how you come to the community, maybe a little bit about your connection to health and wellness.
Certainly. So obviously, not obviously, but I know you, Aaron, through ASAE. Jim and I are classmates from Institute for Organizational Management, so we've had a lot of time together. And how I come to fitness is, believe it or not, my second career, I was actually a fitness instructor. So my last position in the fitness world was as fitness and aerobics director for a small group of fitness centers here in Baltimore. I taught spinning, I taught aerobics, I taught step, I taught stretching classes, I did personal training, and then I also trained other fitness professionals how to teach aerobics, fitness classes, etc.
That's awesome and so interesting. And it's always so interesting when our sort of association, our professional lives sort of intersect in interesting and unusual ways with our personal lives. I always love to see that intersection. So, again, thanks so much for being here today. Jim, I'm going to start with you first, friend. It is
Oh gosh, so this week has been very busy. Just as we're starting to ramp up, getting ready for in-person meetings, and we've got staff on vacation, so we're starting to thinking about staff coverages. I would say I'm probably in the I don't know. I feel like a broken record sometimes. I feel like I'm right around like a 7.5 ish. So just um, yeah, been trying to get out and walk and be nice, so that's been good. Meal prep has been really good this week. Lots of good hydration. Been drinking good water. So yeah, I mean, other than just the stress level at work, I mean, things have been pretty good. So
awesome. Well, it's good to see you as always. And I don't want you to tease too much about your stretching.
I'm gonna say that I'm in that 9.5 plus range. I mean, nothing's been perfect, right? But last week I rated myself like 9.5 because my sleep wasn't great, and it's been a lot better this week. Last week I just had like a couple of later evening phone calls that sort of like keep your brain clicking. So I have been better. My Garmin sleep, and it says my average has been 8 hours this week, but I had a really long sleep, like 9.5 hours, and a really short sleep of 6.5. So that puts me at 8, averaging those 2 days. So one was really, really awesome, and one was
walking in the morning and in the evening. That's been pretty consistent. Still, even though it's not only hot, but it's getting hotter. Temperatures in Dallas are supposed to eclipse 100 for the next couple of weeks. And so, just trying to find some balance in getting in good movement and exercise, but also knowing that it's hot outside, and in particular being able to stay hydrated. In terms of food, Trevor was out of town this week, and I'm sort of a bad meal maker when Trevor's out of town. I feel like if I'm not making meals, or we're not making meals for both of us, then I sort of grab some healthy fruit and veg and whatever is available. And so I sort of eat well when he's not home, because we're not making big meals, and so that seems to be easy. We've been in the sort of return to some sort of normalcy. I would say that we've been eating out just maybe a week, and I would say that just being super intentional as that happens, and as we're returning to some in-person meetings. And so I feel like that's been good, intentional, and I think I've been doing a good job. So in terms of numbers, I would put me at maybe at 8.5. I think I've been doing fairly well. I think the thing that I know I need to continue to focus on is staying hydrated. There are some days where honestly I feel like my water bottle is just as filled after lunch as it was in the morning, and I know I need to be more mindful of that. So
Sure. So I would say my personal check-in this week is probably around a 6, and that's because we're coming off of vacation. So on vacation, I would say I was a 10. We didn't eat out at all. We cooked in, rode 10 miles on the bike, and swimming in the water. This week has been incredibly busy work-wise. So what I would say that I've done well is to continue to walk every morning with my pup, and have been cooking ahead. So all of my volunteers this week, so it's been pretty intense. But other than that, sleeping well. Water is hit or miss. I actually have my water bottle right here so I can keep on top of it. But it's been a good week, and I expect next week will be closer to probably a 7 or an 8.
good. Well, it's always good to notice those changes from week to week too, right? That sometimes we know where we're at, and we know that we're going to have a week, or there's going to be sort of an ebb and flow, and
this thing had 2 gift certificates. It had 2 timeline. So, but we did some really
forward to us today is for how you've employed empathy within your own organization.
Sure. I mean, as you said, with the pandemic, it's really had to get us to take a step back and look at what's going on in people's lives. NSH has been a virtual organization since July of 2017, so this is not new to us. And about, I'd say 2 months in, I took one of our staff meetings and used some of the where we just said, how are you doing? How are you feeling? What's going on? How is the pandemic impacting you? And so we talked through that, but I didn't talk about it from a let me into your private life. We talked about it. How is it impacting you and being able to do your job? And one of the most important takeaways with my colleagues is the idea that while everybody else was slowing down and trying to readjust to working remotely or virtual, maybe for the first time, and even without policies or infrastructure in place to support it, we were accelerating our work. So we felt this disconnect with the rest of the world while they were slowing down and we were speeding up. So because of that, one of the things that we did is I put a couple of things in place to give our staff members space to be fully present. So we in the office where maybe your colleague wants to share something that they don't want to share in the group. So giving them that space to have conversation. One of my favorites is reaction or negative emotion because our colleagues think differently than we do. So empathy, I think, cannot be overstated right now because we're not out of the pandemic yet. We are still dealing with uncertainties, and that will probably carry into our work for next year.
Well, and I just think that, when I think about facilitation and how facilitation creeps into so much of our work internally with team members, but externally, volunteers, etc., I often think about the three Ps. I think about people, I think about the process that we're going to navigate, think about a product or some sort of outcome. And I think that in our organization, sometimes we can prioritize the process and the product over the people. And we need to remember that certainly this is always the case, but, as well as some of the existing ones that it's had. And if they go unsupported, the process and the product don't matter. And we likely can't even get to a product. And so recognizing that people bring so many feelings, emotions, experiences into the workplace, and that it's not a soft skill, it's not touchy-feely to empathize and prioritize kind of their needs. Slow down to be able to do that. And I wanted, Jim, to turn to you because the article and kind of your concept you wanted to bring forward today was actually an ASAE article. And of course, I'll post these all in the show notes later, but the article that you brought forward is called Prioritizing Workplace Well-Being in the Post-Pandemic Environment. Of course, to Sharon's point, whether we say the words post-pandemic or not, it is an ongoing pandemic. We're not out of the woods yet, and there are a lot of considerations.
Re-enter the space of back to in-person meetings and kind of doing refresher courses. I mean, we actually had a trivia contest a week ago where we had just a game that never experienced that at all, being on site at a meeting potentially. So, so again, I think, going into like gauging where the staff's at and making sure that you're communicating back and forth on just kind of how we're working through different things, through different issues, and kind of giving them the resources and just knowing that we're there. We're there for this to support you. So I think that's kind of some of the things I got out of this article.
Great. No, I love that, and I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that and for pulling that forward and kind of sharing some of your own insights as well. Just briefly before we wrap up for today, I had pulled this last article that was just 101 ways to create humor at work, and I'm not going to go through all of the bullet points, but it was just kind of a reminder in this sort of conversation around empathy and supporting our team members and our staff members that creating space and time and energy for levity and laughter, I think is important. And it doesn't always have to be silly, but it can, just create a lighter mood. And for some, I guess for me, it connects to this topic around empathy as well, because I think it's intended to provide comfort and enjoyment and, to some extent relaxation and just to support mental health. And, this article kind of suggests that, whether it's individual activities or group team building activities, that, there are a lot of things that you can do for your personal health that can help reduce stress, improve blood flow, and even burn calories. And I think we know that, as we move and as we kind of engage our bodies and our muscles and our minds, that it can have a pretty profound impact in the workplace. And Angela, I didn't want to put you on the spot, but I was thinking about, you all in the restaurant and how important probably laughter is within that space, and how stressors of, patrons and whatnot can probably become challenging from time to time. And I just was curious if you had thoughts on laughter, and if there are ways that you all see laughter sort of crop up in the restaurant.
Oh gosh, I mean, if you've ever seen, not that the movie Waiting or some of those like back of house comedies are like the best. It really is, sort of like kind of tense in the front and the back of house, like our guys, they'll put on some like mega gangster rap and you're like, you guys, you have to turn it down. Like, you can't be like, they're singing and, it's just a lot of fun. You just kind of have to keep it light. It's just food. It's not life and death. It's not like we're working in an emergency room or, like it's supposed to be fun. And so, we just kind of keep that going and try not to take anything too seriously, at least, to keep everybody's spirits up. I think it kind of hectic.
Grown. I named my phone Titanic. Now when I use Bluetooth, it says Titanic is sinking. SYN.
You need to send me that one.
Some good laughter for you.
Send it to my vegans.
I will. All right.